So one of the first things we do when we train women in presentation skills is we tell them to take the stage and stand up so that they can present with confidence. So please bear with me. I'm going to follow my own advice and I am going to stand up. And I promise when we get to the panel Q&As, I will sit back down again. Last month, I read an interesting article in the newspaper around the pop star Taylor Swift. And she was on stand in a court case around an alleged groping incident when a man was meant to have groped her bottom during a photo shoot. It was a really interesting article. It talked a lot about how Taylor Swift appeared on stand and how she was very confident and stoic and in command. And when she was being questioned by the opposition, she remained firm in her beliefs. No, she had not imagined it. No, he had not touched her arm. No, he had not touched her rib. He had very definitely groped her bottom. And the court case went in her favour. And later that day, I was in the car with my 15-year-old daughter, and I started to talk about it because I thought it was really interesting. But her reaction astounded me. Oh, Mom, Taylor Swift, she needs to just get over it. I mean, this is what happens in life. Every day when I walk down the street, somebody will shout at me or somebody will whistle at me. And if I'm at a disco, somebody will touch me or somebody will pinch me. And you just have to get on with it and put up with it. I couldn't believe it. My 15-year-old, feisty, confident, beautiful daughter thought that this was the norm and that we should just put up with it. Like, this world is in flux, and it's one of the titles of this conference. You know, we have political upheaval in all of the various different continents. We have terror threats where we never thought we were going to see them. We see technology moving faster than we ever believed possible. Even the climate has gone mad. But in that environment, has the world of gender equality, have we kept a pace with this? Are we in flux? Are we moving as fast? Or in some ways, are we the same as our parents' generation? Are our children experiencing and hearing the same things? I'm not a women's libber, but I've been working for 25 plus years, and I care passionately about gender equality and equality of all sorts. And I've been working hard at it in every company I've worked in for 25 years. And yet sometimes the statistics that we see make me feel despondent. Is it too slow? Is the pace of change so slow? Are we really making any difference? In Google, we care passionately about diversity because we're a very innovative company, and we believe that to be successful and to be truly innovative, you have to be as diverse as the world you're in. You can't build products for women unless you have women involved in product development. You can't build products that will appeal to all different parts of the world unless you hire people from all different parts of the world. And in the whole area of diversity, you might think I'm here and I'm going to talk about as an expert or that we have it cracked. We don't. We absolutely don't. The reason that we get involved in conferences such as this is to try and learn from other companies and to try and share some of the bits that we're actually trying and where we think it might make a difference. One of the good things that we did actually do is 3 years ago, we came out and shared our diversity numbers in relation to gender equality. And we weren't proud of these numbers. We weren't sharing them because we were saying, look at us, we have it solved. Our gender diversity numbers were not great. And back then, our representation numbers were 70% male and 30% female. Our numbers in leadership were 21% female. We weren't proud of those numbers, and we've worked really, really hard over the last 3 years to try and change them. So in 3 years, have we achieved amazing things? Our representation of females has gone up from 30% to 31%. Our representation in leadership has gone up from 21% to 25%. Huge amounts of work, passion, and energy. But where I take confidence is that at least those small percentages, behind every one of those small percentages, there is change. There's change in attitudes, there are stories, there are real lives of people who got chances and opportunities that they might not have if we hadn't opened up this debate. So I'm genuinely not here to talk about how amazing we are or how we have this crack, but to share some of the things that we did do. We do a lot externally and we do a lot internally. Externally, our big focus is on trying to attract more women into technology and to study technology. Those numbers I talk about, 70%, 30%, only 30% female, now 31% female, actually behind that Our technology jobs, our engineering jobs are 20% female, and that's an improvement up from 17%. Our non-tech jobs were actually much, much better. We're at roughly 50-50, but there is a real challenge in terms of attracting females into technology. But I'm not going to talk about what we're doing externally. I'm going to talk a little bit more and share a little bit more about what we do internally. And internally, if you're going to try and make progress in relation to gender equality, there are 3 different things that we believe that you need to focus on. And it's a bit like a 3-legged stool. If you concentrate on one of them and not the others, it's going to sort of overbalance. So the 3 are hiring, retention, and progression. If you do a great job in terms of hiring females into the organization, but you don't retain them, it's like pouring water into a leaky bucket. You know, you're going to lose any progress that you're making. I'm going to touch on those very briefly around what we do in these spaces. Hiring. We noticed in Europe when we hire a lot of graduates into our entry-level sales jobs. And when we looked at our numbers, we discovered that far more men were applying for our sales jobs than women. So we took it away and we looked to see why could this possibly be the case. And we did 2 things to try and fix the problem. The first thing we discovered is that job descriptions and language in job descriptions has a gender. There are words in job descriptions that appeal more to men than to women, which I was really surprised by. Male words are the source of words that attract males to apply for jobs are things like drive, ambition, selling, cold calling, competition. The words that attract women and are more inclusive in terms of job descriptions are things like business development, helping customers, community, engagement. We changed some of the words in our job description to see what that would do. And the second thing we did, we looked at when we go out to campuses to talk to students, we realized that a lot of our role models were male. And so immediately we brought more women out on campus to talk about sales jobs so that women in the audience could see role models and could see women who were doing these jobs successfully. Those 2 very simple things made a big difference in relation to the numbers of females applying for our sales jobs, and we're now at about 50-50. Those are just graduate entry jobs. Sometimes we focus too much on the senior level jobs, but if we don't get it right at the entry level, we're not creating the pipeline for the future leaders and for the future roles. If I move briefly to retention, one of the things that we've tried to do to change our environment, not just for gender, but for all types of equality, is in relation to unconscious bias training. And there's been a lot about this in the media. We've been really, really big supporters of this. It's been quite transformational for us in terms of getting everybody to the same basic understanding of some unconscious biases that they may have internally and giving them a language to call it out when they actually see it in the workforce. It has done an awful lot. Now we find we bring people into the organisation. Every single person who joins our organisation has to go through unconscious bias training. We've also done a lot in relation to parental benefits. We discovered in the US, when we looked at, in the US they had, in California, a very short maternity leave, 12 weeks of maternity leave. And what we looked at our attrition rates of mothers returning back from maternity leave. It was double the attrition rates for everybody else in the organisation. So in the US, they increased the maternity leave to 5 months, and the difference in attrition levels disappeared. So sometimes, and I'm not saying that parental benefits are the solution for everybody, we've actually looked at parental benefits for men and women, because part of an issue we have in society is that in a lot of countries, and I know the Nordics are exemplary in this spaces, but in a lot of countries, maternity leave and the onus of child rearing seems to fall on women. So we've done a lot to try and improve parental benefits for our fathers as well as for our mothers. The last topic I will touch on is progression in an organisation. If you have people joining a company, excited about joining your organisation, but they don't see female role models and they don't see people getting ahead in their career, they don't see women getting ahead in their career, again, you're going to lose them after all the efforts from hiring them. In Google, in our engineering world, engineers have the opportunity to put themselves forward for promotion. If they think they're ready, they can nominate themselves to be considered for promotion. And then we have these promotion committees that look at everybody who nominates themselves and goes through really rigorous calibration to see do they meet the bar or not, and then we decide who gets promoted. But what we noticed was that our numbers, our percentages in relation to female promotions in engineers was lower than male engineers. And when we dug deeper again, we discovered that much fewer female engineers were putting themselves forward. I think we're all familiar with the research that shows that women are less likely to apply for jobs or to put themselves forward for jobs unless they believe they satisfy all of the criteria. Whereas men will still go for jobs if they satisfy some of the criteria. So one of our vice presidents in engineering was really troubled by this, and he sent out an email to all of engineering, citing the research, citing the data that showed the lower number of promotions, the lower number of self-nominations, and really encouraging women to put themselves forward. What we found that promotion cycle, more women put themselves forward, and as a result, good input, more women actually got promoted. He continued to do that for every promotion cycle twice a year, and that trend continued in terms of seeing more women putting themselves forward, and therefore equal numbers of men and women getting promoted at the end of it. But interestingly, one cycle he forgot to send the email, and the numbers dropped off again. The women didn't put themselves forward. So sometimes these tiny things like nudges, noticing things and putting nudges into the system are the small things that will make a difference. I could talk for hours, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stop. I'm going to finish by saying the real way that we're going to try and make faster progress in this space is, as leaders of organizations and as employers, is sharing some of the things that are working. I hope that the couple of small examples that I showed here will maybe help us play our part in speeding that up. I look forward to your questions later. Thank you.
Thank you.